Let's get talking. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with Carl E. Long. I'm your boy, Carl E. Long, and welcome to my podcast. This is episode 47. Yes, 47 of the podcast. I thought about this and I said, let me share this with my listening audience. This is my second take of this podcast because your boy, is a techie guy and whatever. Sometimes things fail. I did the entire podcast and my mic was on, almost off, and you couldn't hear me. It was the best talking I think I've ever done on a podcast. My voice was in good sound, everything. My points were perfect. And I was just excited. And then I'll go to download the sucker. And what? I don't hear me. I don't know if that's ever happened to you as a podcaster, but it happens. You get excited about a podcast and then you just like, what? This happened. Yeah, it happened. And it's so funny because I had a thought in my head. I said, did I check the mic? I didn't even look to see that it was, if the graph was moving, because I usually look at that, but it was kind of rolled down. I didn't see it. So there you have it. So that was my dress rehearsal. So hopefully this one will be just as good. So today, guys, is a very important podcast because there's a lot been going on this week. And we need to talk about free speech. Yeah, a lot has happened, and this Trump administration has done some things and they're pushing buttons, and the more and more we get through this administration, the more and more this becomes an autocracy. This administration is doing things that I thought would never happen. I thought we had the law and the Supreme Court and the Constitution on our side, but when they start pressing buttons on the Constitution, then you gotta be afraid. This is going to be about free speech, guys. So today's title of the podcast is Silenced or Heard: The Battle for Free Speech in America. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Free speech, the First Amendment. It's being challenged, guys. It's being attacked in our country, America. This is the very fabric of our country, the First Amendment. And let me just read the First Amendment to you, and we're going to elaborate on it further down in the podcast. But let's listen. Let me let you just know what it says. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment. That gives us the right as Americans to say what we want to say without getting thrown in jail for saying it. And that's what our whole nation is built on, that First Amendment. That's what makes us different from any country in the world, is that speech. Yes. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, all that's covered in that one deal. So I want to talk today about what's been going on with the Charlie Kirk issue and with the Jimmy Kimmel issue, because all those are about speech and what happens. I said I didn't want to talk about the whole Charlie Kirk thing because I felt some kind of way because his speech, because even though we're allowed to say what we want, it doesn't come without consequence. Now, the consequence should never be someone being able to kill you for what you believe in. Although I didn't agree with nothing of Charlie Kirk's mission of what he did. But the way that you don't agree with someone, you don't have to do it. You swipe. You turn the channel. You turn it down. You block it. You don't have to listen. And be it that it's may, this guy had a platform. There were people that agreed with him, and he had every right to say what he wanted to say. So the little guy that did this, he was out of order. He was wrong. And this guy should never have lost his life because of someone not agreeing with you. And then I always say consequences. The reason I say that is because there are consequences on what you say. You shouldn't be killed by no means. But, Charlie Kirk had heavy security because he got hate speech from everybody. Just like Democrats get the same thing. There are consequences. There are things you say that your job may not like, and you can get fired. Yes. There are things you might say, and you are a business owner, and they might not buy your product. You see what I'm saying? So there are consequences to what you say. And unfortunately, this particular little guy decided he was going to take it in his own hands and take a person out, and that is wrong. Let me say that again. That is wrong. And Charlie Kirk should not have lost his life because of what he believed in, what he wanted to say. Albeit I didn't agree with anything that he says, the guy should never have been killed for it. And I send all the love and prayer to his family for what happened to Charlie Kirk in America. And then there's the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing, right? So we got two things that's going on. So America, family, let's talk. Because what's happening right now in America feels heavy. It feels familiar. Free speech. Something written in the very First Amendment of our Constitution is supposed to guarantee that every voice, every perspective can be heard without fear. Now, me as a black man in this country, I know all too well that free speech has never been really free for us. Not for us. Not for those of us that dare to speak truth to power, from Malcolm X to Dr. King, to Fannie Lou Hamer, and even to Colin Kaepernick. He had to pay because of his speech. He lost his career. History shows us that what happens when our voices challenge the system. Now, we're watching this conversation rise up again. We just talked about the Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, here's a man who built his brand on saying the things that many people loved. Some people agreed with him, and many others hated. Now, that just shows how dangerous this climate has become. It really has. And when a show like Jimmy Kimmel Live suddenly disappears from the air, it raises the question, who decides? Who decides which voices get silenced and which voices get amplified? It's not some shooter. You don't get to decide. You see, free speech isn't just about politics. It's about power. It's about who controls the mic, who owns the stage, and who gets to speak without fear of being erased. Or worse, attacked. And if we're honest, America has always had a double standard on that. It really has. We've kind of sifted in and out. When some people speak up, they're called patriots, right? And when we speak up, I'm talking black people too often, we're called dangerous or race baiting. So tonight, I want to dig into this a little bit. I mean, is free speech under attack in America, guys? Or has it always been under attack?